All right, y'all. Welcome back to another edition of Collector's Market Watch, where we talk about all things Lorcana from a collector's perspective. That means enchanteds, sealed product, and promos. And we have a huge episode for y'all today. Cards fluctuating all over the place in price. Not necessarily too surprising given the current cycle that we're in within the new set. We're going to break all that down, what you should be focused on as you're buying and selling cards at this current state of the Reign of Jafar cycle. We'll talk about some other things as well. But before we do that, y'all, it would mean a lot to me if you'd consider scrolling down and hitting that subscribe button. We do pack opening content every Sunday and Thursday, and Market Watch content every Tuesday. Go join the Discord as well. Link is down in the description. And with all that out of the way, let's get right into today's episode. And we're going to start where I've been enjoying starting in the past, in the last couple episodes, which is going to actually be in the Discord, highlighting some collectors who've been throwing in some awesome fire pulls, other areas of their collection, and just sharing them with the community, which I just think is absolutely awesome. And we have an absolute legend. We have an absolute GOAT just doing the work of legends in the cord. We have IBG Music here, who just currently opened a sealed case of First Chapter. That's wild, bro. I haven't even done that on the channel yet. So now you're giving me motivation to be able to go do certain things. So hopefully I can get to your level one day, my guy. But nevertheless, we've got some awesome pulls in here. It looks like he's pulling multiple things in here. Whole New World. Obviously, it's great to see things like Let It Go. He also even called out and talked about Lantern. I think we have a couple people who said in the cord that they would love to see this card as an epic rare in Fable, just because the artwork is so phenomenal. See like a little bit more of like a full art. I think that would be absolutely sick, right? Like, I mean, obviously in the early stages of the meta, very playable card. Might still be playable. I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. I feel like it kind of is probably faded as the card pool has gotten a little bit bigger, but as we get into set rotation and they start to do some reprints, if this gets reprinted, card pool shrinks, maybe it comes back into form. So shout out you, my guy. I will also say that he did pull an enchanted. He shared that with us in the cord. If you want to go see that, go join the cord and go see what enchanted he pulled. I won't spoil like the big hit that he got, but absolutely sick pull. And congratulations to you, my man, and thank you for sharing that with the community. Second individual I want to shout out is Flobby Tenderson, which is an absolutely just awesome name. I don't know where you got that, but I'm loving that name. Claims that they got into the hobby just, I believe, a few weeks ago, something like that. Like just recently got into the hobby, pulling wrong lever, and it means no worries. And I forgot the ratio of packs that it took you to pull this, but it wasn't that many. Enjoy this memory, enjoy this moment. Stuff like that doesn't happen very often, but absolutely, I'm glad that it happened to you, and glad that you were able to have that memory as you've come into the hobby. We welcome you, and here's to more fire pulls for many sets, many years, many packs to come. Congratulations! But with all that out of the way, let's dive into the market here a little bit. Want to start out with just talking a little bit about Reign of Jafar. Want to talk about what we have going on from a market perspective as Reign of Jafar starts to sort of set into the market. We have now Reign of Jafar out in retail stores all across the world. If you're in the United States, thinking like Targets, Walmarts, things like that. And first call out that I'm going to make here is when we talked about the booster box, I think it was last week, and even with pre-sale prices, I would have said, from pre-sale timing of the booster box being available on the market till now, everything, very fairly priced. I would even go as far as to say last week when we talked about it, I would have even gone as far as to say really a great deal. And let's just get our footing here if y'all missed last week's episode. It looks like from a price perspective, still hanging pretty similar to where it was last week, coming in at 110 here, and even viewing more data here going up from the bottom up. Very consistent. Anything from like 109 to like high 110s. Very consistent in terms of pricing. And as we look down and start working our way through what you can get on your hands on TCG Player, it looks like verified sellers. We have 114 right here, another 114 right there. Very consistent, kind of in the mid 110s, which is very fair for that box. But here's the big call out that I'll make as we start to see prices fluctuate with individual cards. I called out last week that I said that the booster box for Reign of Jafar was a fantastic deal right now, because again, the box was very similarly priced, and absolutely would have said like that is a steal compared to what you're able to get within that box. Going into this week, I would say that it's much less of a steal or like great value. And I would start to say now it's more so just fairly priced. And I know you're thinking like, Ink, why is that? Like, how is that even possible? Like, the price hasn't moved. So like, why would it go from being, so like crazy good value to now it's pretty much just kind of set in as like fair market value? Well, it doesn't really have anything to do with the booster box specifically. What it has to do is the contents within the box and what those contents are valued should you pull them. So when we think about the different enchanteds, still multiple different enchanteds that are really, really high up there in price. I think we still are sitting at about 10 enchanteds that are over $100. So once again, if you pull them, very good chance that that you're going to be able to pull your money back if you are able to pull one of those alternate arts. However, let's dig into some of the enchanteds that we have not really talked about to this point. I might mix a couple in there, but also want to highlight some of the other enchanteds. And I want to start out with Perdita, Determined Mother. First and foremost, absolutely gorgeous artwork here. This might low-key be one of my favorite artworks in the entire set. Absolutely beautiful, but let's get into the data a little bit here. We see that we have an average price coming in here about $125. However, we also see here that we're starting to see prices like kind of come down on this card, like a pretty steep gradual decline here. 124 is going to be our average market price. However, if you start to look at like verified sellers, like you can pick this card up for like 105, 107 right now, so like low 100s. So even though we have this card sitting here at $125 in terms of like average market price, it does seem like there's starting to become more cards that are flooding the market as more retail stores are selling these, packs. More packs are in the wild. More enchanteds can get pulled, more of each individual enchanted out of the set of 18, so on and so forth, right? Like there's just more out there, commodities, right? The less of something there is, the more expensive it's going to be. The more of something there is, the cheaper it's going to be, right? Like the less value it's going to hold. So obviously looking at that from that perspective, we see that, things are starting to kind of settle down. However, this is not just this isn't just a random occurrence with Perdita, right? Like this isn't just a one-off. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Going into Mushu now, Your Worst Nightmare. Once again, another absolutely phenomenal artwork. I have yet to see, I don't think I've seen anybody pull this one. I'm trying to think of it in the Discord, anybody's pulled this. If you have, throw that into the Cord. I would love to see it. But once again, the call out I want to make here, once again, somewhat similar here, coming in average price of 136. However, we're going to start to see a pattern here, right? We're starting to trickle down and kind of starting to set in terms of like what these prices are realistically going to be now that we have the retail stores coming out with specific packs and things like that. And I'm just even going to come in here and show like Desperate Plan, which is another enchanted. Actually, this enchanted, to my understanding, is relatively playable. Like and like in reading the text, it's actually, I mean, to me, it seems like pretty good tack. Like okay, I'm going to read the text right now. Here, I'm actually going to read it right here. If you have no cards in your hand, draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. So basically, like if you have no cards, you're able to sort of, it's not totally a 1-for-1 because Pot of Greed and Yu-Gi-Oh is drawing 2 cards, but like you basically get to replenish your hand and be able to give yourself a little bit more ammo. However, otherwise choose and discard any number of cards and then draw that many cards. So if you have a bunch of bricks in your hand, like you can get rid of those bricks and draw some more cards. I actually think that tack is pretty solid. Like again, far be it from me, I'm not a deck builder, not much of a game player, but understanding gameplay with TCGs, that to me seems pretty solid. I'm pretty sure that the cold foil of this card, I believe it's a rare. Last I checked, it was going for like $7-8, something like that. Pretty decently playable card. Anyway, all that besides the point. Even a card like that is very much like somewhat meta relevant, and to be fair, like a lot of these cards are meta relevant right now. I wouldn't necessarily say we have anything that's like pinpointed as like the ultimate meta. But nevertheless, as we look at this card, once again, even a playable card, same exact thing, right? This is not indicative of anything else other than there's just more of these packs in existence, there's more of these cards in existence, and with that, there's going to be the better chance of pulling it. If you ever have to ask yourself, like, if you've ever listened to any other, creator talk about this topic, there's, again, I always like to call it, there's just absolutely phenomenal creators out there doing their thing, spreading this, this great information and trying to educate the community, because a lot of what I'm noticing in terms of our community is there's a lot of new new community members. There's new people coming into not just the hobby, but TCGs in general, because y'all love Disney. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like, hopefully that is a sign of things to come, both from the collector and game player side. Like, that's an absolutely wonderful thing. However, for all of y'all who are coming in at that time, you might hear myself or other creators talk about this idea of like FOMO, don't buy pre-sales, like, don't just grab, the first thing that you can find. Let it settle into the market for a second when prices kind of start to simmer. This is what all those people were referring to, okay? And this is an occurrence that happens every single set. It has happened every single set. I'll have the first chapter withstanding, because I think there's some things going on with first chapter, like it's the first ever set, it's the inaugural set of a new game. There might be some different things going on there, but for the most part, we'll just take sets 2 through 8. It is the same thing every single time. Starts way overhyped and it comes down because people want what they can't have, right? And that is very indicative of other TCGs as well. It's not totally a one-for-one, but it is certainly a parallel that you can draw with other TCGs. I have no doubt that we will be sitting here a few months now when Fabled comes out, and actually with Fabled, I could even see it being really bad with the FOMO, just because of all the new things that they're coming out with, the new rarities and things like that, rotation, game players wanting to get their hands on certain cards. Like, I'm sure that they'll print more than enough of Fabled, but like I could just see there being ultra heavy FOMO with Fabled when that does surface at, I believe, the end of August for pre-sale releases. But nevertheless, this is going to be the same exact conversation that we're going to be having with Fabled, and then Whispers in the Well, and on and on and on. It's the same thing every single time, but it is important to call it out for all y'all who are kind of coming into the hobby and are new to the hobby. So just keep your eyes on that, and just understand that, again, whether it's a card like a Perdita or a Mushu, phenomenal artworks, just incredible cards. Card like Desperate Plan, like super, very meta card, right? And I'll even shout out another one. I'll shout out Lady Decisive Dog. We talked about this card. We talked about it 2 weeks ago on Collector's Market Watch. But once again, another card very playable in this dog deck, Churna Dog, Lady Tramp, like so much tack going on there. Once again, same exact thing. Like, it's the same exact common thread that you can pull on, right? Again, doesn't matter if it's a collectible card, if it's a playable card, it doesn't matter, right? Like, this is something that is just the way that it is when you think about the new set cycle. Very, very, very common. So for all y'all out there who are saying to themselves like, oh my gosh, like, prices are falling, things like that, don't worry about that. Like, I would say give it a little bit more time. Typically in these moments, you'll find like more so like a flat line in the next like few weeks or so, and then cards that come in as like very meta cards, you might see a little bit of a bounce there up in price as we start to shake out the meta. However, I will say, from everything that I've been reading, everything I've been watching as it pertains to the meta, because I always say it's my job to understand the meta, because that's going to be indicative of what these prices are. And then for myself, I tell myself, okay, if there are enchanteds out there like a Lady or something like that, or like the Tramp from Arcasia's Island, other cards like that where it's like, wow, super meta relevant right now. For myself as a collector, those are the ones to say, okay, let's put those to the side and let's focus on other cards right now, because those ones are being bolstered in price based off of something that is something that will probably, or inevitably I should say, change down the road. The meta will shift, card will go down in price. That's your kind of time to sort of grab that opportunity. But again, very, very understandable for all these cards to be sinking in price. However, that will not stop Into the Unknown. Into the Unknown, look at this card, absolutely roasting in price the complete opposite way. Looking like we have average market price right now sitting at about $250. Unbelievable to see. And I'll tell you, this card, like, I will say, like, let's dig into the data a little bit more here, and let's just see what we have. Like, because to be honest with you, I mean, I would say that this card has kind of been holding pretty steady at this 250 number right here. I mean, obviously, like, it has gone up in price, kind of bouncing off of, I would say, like the last 2 weeks or so, like going, having a really nice pop in price. But this just goes to show that there is a collector's market out there, and it's amazing to see it, because at the same time, as we just kind of covered, look, I am not saying that this card is not playable. But what I am saying is there is no like ultimate meta that is like warping Lorcana right now, and it certainly is not Amethyst Sapphire. Okay, like there are definitely some meta trends going on right now, and I'm not sitting here saying that isn't like a popular combo. There's plenty of people probably playing that, but the point is there's just a lot of the meta is spread very wide right now. You have multiple steel decks going on, multiple sapphire decks, the dog deck. You have all this different stuff going on right now. So it is not to say that Into the Unknown is like, wow, like it's like one of the cards and the ultimate, the ultimate like combo in the meta. It's like, that's not really what's going on here. It's just a collectible card and people believe in this card. And I love to see that. Obviously, I would say that in times like this, it's also while it's very exciting to see that this card is, just absolutely, humming right now and it keeps popping in price. It is one of those things where it's tough to really gauge what's going to go on with this card. I mean, obviously this card will continue to go along as the collector's market continues to purchase it. From what I've seen on secondary markets being purchased, it is an extremely liquid card. Looking at the data versus like the other cards and other cards on TCG Player, pretty consistently like 1.5 to 2 times as many sales as like every other card within Reign of Jafar, because again, you have game players, you have collectors, you have everybody kind of coming in wanting a piece of Elsa, which totally makes sense. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this card fares going forward. Obviously, as someone who does not have this card, I'm gonna give it time. I just think that, again, this is just totally like my perspective on things. If this card can continue to keep going higher, all the power to it, and I'll just work on trying to pull it, and maybe at some point I'll be able to trade for it or come into it somehow, some way. But if we're sitting here 2-3 months from now and this card's like $400, like I wouldn't look at that so much as like a loss, as like, oh man, that's really too bad. I wouldn't look at it like that. The way I would look at it is, man, we got a strong hobby moving forward, because I'll tell you what, for this card to be continuously going up where people keep buying this card as it continues to rise in price, that is a very positive thing for the hobby. So super awesome to see that. The other card I do want to call out to is Stitch Experiment 626. Card has absolutely also been going up in price. It looks like they're still gathering sales data on this. I feel like I checked it like a day ago and they had data on it, which is really interesting. But what I do want to call out here is this is another card, like as we start to kind of go, like I want to take it kind of from the beginning here, sort of work our way up here as we start to go. We see this card like kind of starting out like 160s range, kind of working its way up to 170s. But then you start to see some $200 prices come in. All the way as we get up to the top, you start to see like we're pretty consistently in that $200 range. And as we go down here and we start to look at verified sellers, we start to see like 195, start to see like 203, 204, all those different things. So, certainly for Stitch Experiment 626, kind of seems like we're starting to live in this new normal of this card being a card that might be over a $200 card. We'll see if that holds. To be honest with you, I'm not totally sure what's driving this. It will be interesting to see. Look, at the end of the day, it's a Sapphire card. Sapphire is still very popular in the meta. It's a low cost. It's got pretty good tack, and that's one half of it. The other half is that movie just came out, and honestly, it was really good. Like it was really good. I from seeing it all the way back, like I think months ago, they were hyping and trailering that movie. I thought it was very interesting doing like live action, but it hit. It was really good, and I totally understand. It sounds like it's had really good reviews, so there could be some of that going on as well. Artwork is absolutely beautiful with him absolutely like looking like super like very, I don't know what you'd call it, like very realistic. It seems like he's actually like licking the card, which is super sick. So yeah, lot of things going for this card. I think as we start to see things shake out in the meta, it'll be interesting to see if this card holds weight. I think just be on the lookout for if you start to see the meta take shape more specifically, like more narrow laned, and you start to see things like, oh, steel is the new meta because everybody's playing steel, or a certain combination. Like if Sapphire starts to fade from the meta, just be on the lookout to see if this card dips in price, and because if it doesn't, that's going to tell you that it's the collectors buying it up from the new movie. Another thing you can do is also compare it to like other super popular like Sapphire cards like Tamatoa and things like that. Just kind of see what consistencies you can find, because that's how you're going to be able to tell what is driving the market, because it's impossible to tell just from pure data, right? You don't know who's buying this, whether it's someone like myself who's like, I need this for my collection, or someone who's a game player who's like, I need multiple copies of this because I'm trying to make a Sapphire deck and I need this card to be a part of it, right? So certainly something to be on the lookout there for. But from everything I've seen, we have Elsa, Stitch, and I believe maybe Lilo as well, that are all kind of cards that are popping in price right now. Pretty much everything else from Reign of Jafar kind of doing that natural like new cycle, like retail dip that we typically see. So that's kind of what we're seeing from a Reign of Jafar perspective on the Enchanted side. But want to also finish up here by talking about a couple of things on the eBay side, things that have been bought up from collectors and other people, a little bit more high-end stuff. First thing I want to call out here is we see here we do have this QR code Discode card from the Reign of Jafar set. This is a very interesting card, and I'm very happy to see that one of them was sold, so that we can have an idea of like how the market is accepting this card. Discard cards, if you're not familiar with them, I mean, there's discard cards out there that are like non-foil, like black cards, non-foil yellow cards, non-foil white cards. These cards can range anywhere from like $70 all the way up to non-foil. I mean, I'm pretty sure the white discard card, which you typically find in the first chapter, and I believe also Rise of the Floodborn, that card can be going for upwards of like $1,000, right? Because the way that it's been told is that you only find these cards in certain sets. Now again, because there's nothing on there but the word discard, and even with normal cards, there's no code, there's no like set code on the card. Similar to like if you collect Yu-Gi-Oh or things like that, you'll see that little code, set code on there that lets you know where the card is from. Lorcana doesn't have that, right? So like that makes it a little bit more difficult to see the origin of the card. But at the same time, if you see a picture of a card, you can just go TCG player it or something like that. Whereas with these code cards, you can't even do that. Or I guess I should say with the discard cards, and in this case being the code card, you can't even do that. The other interesting thing is that I'm pretty sure if you scan the code, I don't think it takes you anywhere. Man, it would have been okay. If you're gonna do something like this, and I feel like this can't be a mistake. Okay, we're on set 8 by now. I understand the idea of how and why discard cards get printed. That totally makes sense to me. Like you're not using an entire sheet because of course, whether it's a common, uncommon, rare, super rare, legendary, all that stuff, like enchanted, all those things, like you're making different amounts of each card because of course that is like the definition of a rarity, right? Like some are more rare, some are less rare. Like it's just the way it goes. And I understand having like the rest of the filler within the sheet, like being a discard card. I totally understand that. I don't really understand what's going on with the QR code thing here. This almost seems like a weird joke. It would have been way better if you could go in and like scan the code and it takes you somewhere different. I don't know, man. Like that would have just been so cool. I mean, at least do something with it. But I'm pretty sure you scan the code. I don't think it takes you anywhere. So, but that's okay. I mean, it's still really cool to see. Coming in $755. I'd like to say I'm surprised, but I'm really not. I mean, when you deal with like things like misprint cards, miscut cards, discard cards, it is a very dark market in terms of like understanding like what these things are going to go for. It truly comes down to how much does someone value the story and value saying like, oh yeah, like this card has a really cool story behind it. It was from this set, they like weren't supposed to get it in your hand, but I got it in my hand. That's kind of the whole allure of it. So certainly something going on there. And speaking of discard cards, also want to call out and at least take a sidetrack here and call out that if you do search discard cards on eBay, you will see that we do officially have a listing for the Silver Enchanted discard card from Reign of Jafar. I have been waiting for this for a minute because I've been waiting to see kind of, like what this was going to settle in at from a price perspective. The biggest thing I'll call out, especially for all y'all who don't deal too much on eBay or secondary markets, obviously Looks like they're coming in here with a price of 10K. Just know that like that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the card's going to go for. A lot of times individuals will put these cards up for sale and they'll just do like some kind of crazy high price. A lot of times they're just trolling. But really what they're looking to do is they're looking for you to initiate first and make the first offer, right? Like someone comes in and says like, like make an offer, like say like, okay, I'll take it off your hands for $4,000. Right now, I don't know if that's going to get the deal done, but it will certainly initiate conversation with that seller, right? And that's really what they're looking for. They're looking to initiate conversation to see how serious these individuals are, things like that, and just be able to get that kind of rolling. Obviously, if they get lucky enough where someone just hits the buy it now button, like great, W, right? I mean, that's awesome. But really, what they're looking to do is they're making sure that they don't underprice it, right? They want to make sure that they overprice it so that, that kind of gives them the ability to kind of control the talk and the conversation. But an absolutely beautiful card, really, really cool to see. I mean, obviously, I'll be interested to see what it goes for. Hopefully we do get some sort of analytics on it. I'm sure we'll get a few of them that get sold here in the next couple of months, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, that is a beautiful, beautiful card. Really cool to see it. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. The last thing I want to call out, going back to the search that we had here, we talked about the QR discard card. It does seem to me, and I'm just going to kind of start scrolling as I talk about this, but it looks like we have multiple different first chapter booster boxes that have been getting sold. Very liquid. That's one. There's two right there, 3, 4. Multiple boxes here. I feel like I saw a couple of, there's another one right there, right there. There have been multiple right there, right there. There have been multiple of these that have been getting sold in the past like couple of weeks or so, and it is interesting to see. I'll be interested to see if this trend continues as we get closer into Fable. I'm not sure if this has something to do with like Fabled coming out, set rotation / new rarities getting reprinted. Like I don't know if they're moving along because of things like, you're gonna start to see reprints of first chapter cards in Epic Rare and things like that. Like I'm not sure. It's hard to tell if this is buyers getting off of their boxes for what they consider a discount, and then the combination of that with sellers, sellers getting off of them for a discount in combination with the buyers saying like, wow, I've been seeing first chapter boxes on sale for $400. Like, I can get one at $350. This is a great deal. It's very interesting to see how liquid this is. These are right now. Typically, first chapter is very liquid. Not saying that it's not. Obviously, everybody wants to be able to get their hands on on that first ever set of Lorcana while they can, because they start to think about like LOB from Yu-Gi-Oh! That's like tens of thousands of dollars. First chapter, or not first, base set Pokemon, that's stratospheric prices, things like that, like packs going for like 5, 6, 7 Gs or whatever they're going for now based on the market. It will be interesting to see how this shakes out and what happens to the price of first chapter when Fabled comes out. It might be nothing, honestly. Like in my opinion, first chapter will kind of just live in its own world, and I don't really think anything's ever going to do anything different to that. I don't think anything's going to really touch first chapter. Obviously, there is the difference of the first and second print runs, and obviously those live in their own little world and their little tiers, but I don't see much affecting those. Those seem very bulletproof to me, from the sense of like collectors are always going to want to get their hands on those boxes and on those cards as they come into the hobby. And the thing is that if they do reprint these cards, like for example, they're going to reprint Elsa Snow Queen in Epic Rare. Obviously, there are no Epic Rares in first chapter, so like seeing an Elsa in Epic Rare, it's like you're gonna know that's like, okay, that's from Fabled, right? Like you're gonna know that. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out with first chapter. But it was very interesting to me that there was a very common thread as I was scrolling through and kind of working my way through the most recent sales of more high-end items. So much first chapter being bought. Super interesting to see there. But y'all, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Collector's Market Watch. Be sure to go down, hit that subscribe button so you can get more content, and we'll see y'all in the next time. Peace out.